All right, welcome back to the Dental Marketing Mix. I'm Dan Bryan. I'm the co-founder at DentalScapes, joined today by my other co-founder, Brian Craig. What's up, Brian?
Hey, enjoying the last bit of cold weather, I think.
Absolutely. We're rounding the corner. So you and I have been talking a lot lately about, what's best for practices that are just getting started. And it's an
Yeah.
interesting question because, we work with practices of all sizes at all stages, but primarily, working with those that are a little bit more established. And we often talk with folks though who are starting a new practice from scratch and don't necessarily, yet qualify for a larger marketing investment, or that doesn't necessarily make the most financial sense at that point. And the reality is there's a lot that these practices, these startups can do very affordably, very efficiently to generate some initial momentum and get the ball rolling. So today, I know we wanted to break down some of the things that we would advise new practice owners on doing to improve their online visibility, grow their practice, increase profitability, that sort of thing. And I know offline, you and I were talking about a lot of things. We got a lot to cover today.
Oh, yeah.
Where would you start? What would you prioritize first in starting a new practice and looking to build out your marketing?
Yeah, so the number one thing I would do as a new practice is create your Google Business profile.
Yeah.
That is going to be the core of your online presence, the core of your organic visibility in search. So getting that started, getting a couple of photos up on it, getting everything set right. Um, hey, it's free, and it's
Yeah.
it's going to be where you build the rest of it from.
And it's interesting that you say that because you and I talked on the podcast, several months back when Whitespark put out its local SEO ranking factors report for 2026.
Yeah,
The GBP, or the Google Business Profile, as you just mentioned, is still number one as far as influencing local search rankings. And, like you said, it is free. And some people might be inclined to first say immediately up front before anything else, build out a website. That's obviously still important, but that GBP really is the cornerstone of local search visibility. And like you said, it's free, so you might as well take advantage of it. Moving into the website, though, that's obviously something that every modern practice just has to have by
yes.
default. And that said, site design can get very expensive depending on how
Mm,
sophisticated you get. I mean, we're talking about 7,500, 10 grand, onward.
yeah,
You can spend a lot, to develop a really customized, fully fledged website. And that may be out of the initial budget range of a startup practice. So, what would you advise those folks to do there?
for sure. So there are platforms out there. Ones that come to mind are your things like Wix or Squarespace that they have some decent looking templates that are kind of plug and play with your own content, with your own photography. Will they compete with some of the more established practices in the area? No, not really. But they'll get you from zero to, 500 grand or so in revenue. And, just do that 0 to 1 where you do have the cash flow coming in and you do have the revenue to invest in a more professional presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those, have really nice starter templates to get you started. You don't have to start from scratch or build from the ground up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do to kind of minimize the barrier to entry there. And like you said, these are very affordable tools. I think Squarespace for a small business plan is somewhere $20 and up a month or so.
Yeah.
Very affordable. Obviously get your domain, set up hosting, but hosting is actually included with a lot of those Squarespace and Wix plans and similarly. So very easy to get started and super cost effective. So can't agree with you more there. Now you mentioned something in that explanation, photography, video. What would you advise practices there? Now that's something that can get a little bit more expensive, but it can make a huge impact as you and I both know.
It can, yeah. Getting a freelancer, like somebody local that does photography or video without going to these, like specific video agencies that are going to charge you several $1,000s a day to come out,
Yeah.
or even if you're on like a really shoestring budget, uh, take one of the newer iPhones, get some well framed, well lit photos of your practice from the outside. When you walk in the waiting room, um, get some good photos to put on the site. because what you want to avoid is a bunch of stock photography. You want to
Yeah.
avoid looking like everybody else. So if you can do just some basic photography on one of these template sites, that'll help you get started and you don't
Yeah.
have to spend a ton of money.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And everyone knows some kind of photographer or videographer out there,
Oh,
so
yeah.
tap your resources. Absolutely. Tap into your business network or your church group or whatever it might be. Great idea there. Now, another thing that we didn't talk about when we talked about the Google business profile is part of that profile, which is reviews. And
Yes.
when we were talking about those ranking factors, reviews, Google reviews, 5-star Google reviews are infinitely important when it comes to prioritizing your practice in local search results. And so I think I would lean super heavy on generating, 5-star Google reviews up front as you open the practice and as you continue to build the practice down the road, keeping that velocity of reviews, the frequency at which you're getting them, the overall review rating, keeping that at 4.8, 4.9, 5 as possible. Super, super important because it's not just informing patient choice now, it's also, an increasingly important ranking factor for Google. And down the road, when your practice gets into online advertising, it actually influences the performance of your local services ads as well. So there are so many reasons to invest up front in Google reviews. What would you recommend that practice owners do there to prioritize those getting started?
Yeah. So there are two things that I find set a practice apart when doing Google reviews. The first is that it's automated. You might think, "Hey, my front desk will send an email out or we'll do something,
Yeah.
XYZ, whatever." Doesn't happen regularly, always falls by the wayside. You tend to second guess yourself, "Oh, were they really happy? Maybe I shouldn't send them a request."
Yeah.
So that's the first mistake is not sending them automatically to everyone. The second mistake I see is sending them via email. Um, it's not the worst thing in the world, but our world right now, from a consumer standpoint, does not run on email.
Yeah.
It runs on text messages. So, what you want to do ideally is have a platform, and it can be as simple or as complex as you want it. There are some that are just review platforms, all the way up to like a full blown marketing automation or patient CRM type system like a Weave or something.
Hmm.
But you want to have them go out in an automated fashion. You want them to go out via SMS. The other thing that I think is kind of underrated that I've seen some practices do is have some sort of physical item, whether that be a stand with a QR code, whether it be a stack of postcards with your picture on one side and the QR code on the other side saying, "Hey, would you be willing to leave us a review?" But some sort of physical reminder there at the front desk as well to
Yeah.
reinforce what they're going to get via text message, an hour later or whenever it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely. And great to incorporate that QR code on there so they can just quick scan it, leave that
Yeah.
review. Another thing we've advised a lot of clients on that seems to have worked really well is to actually put those review QR code stands in the hygiene operatories because the
Mm.
hygienist is often, the person at the practice that the patient has the best relationship with and is most connected with. And so to have that ask at the end of, a successful cleaning or anything like that is a great way to rack up those reviews really quick. One thing, that's interesting as we talk about all this, like what we would do as business owners if we were starting a practice and, needed to be scrappy up front. One thing that every practice is going to have regardless, it's just a necessary expense, is a front desk team or at least one person who's handling the phones, handling the incoming chats, the emails, the form fills. And that just, I think, is so critical to the success of any practice that, I would advise anyone before you even look at online marketing, before you look at any marketing in general, look at who you're putting behind that desk because that conversion rate, the percentage of inquiries and leads that you actually convert into booked appointments makes all the difference. I mean, a 10% increase in conversion rate of qualified leads can make a massive impact on your bottom line over the course of a year. So, just another thing that we've seen, I know you and I have time and time again, the difference between a 50% and
Right.
60%, conversion rate in terms of call handling and front desk management is just super important. Is there anything else though, that immediately comes to mind beyond GBP, site views, photography? Now, we've talked about all of these things. Anything else that comes to mind that you would really push hard for, a young or at least just starting out dentist to really prioritize?
Yeah, I'm gonna call it a hack, even though it's not really a hack. We do things as we're incentivized to do them. It's human nature, right? So I would encourage practice owners to incentivize your team to get reviews.
Yeah.
So if your front desk person asks for a review and gets it, uh, you know, give them $25 or give them something.
Yeah.
And I think you would be surprised how fast that review number grows when you're encouraging and incentivizing your team to have that same goal that you do to grow that number.
Yeah, I know we keep hitting on reviews and it's just so important. I often talk
Yeah.
with practice owners and say, and I know you've said similar things, local SEO, we always say, is your best return on investment in online marketing simply because you lay the initial groundwork and you start generating momentum and you're generating leads organically. Reviews, though, are a close second for me in terms of, really getting that bang for your buck. And so if you are paying quote unquote $25 a review based on incentives to your team, I just think that's infinitely worthwhile and it's gonna really pay itself back in full and then some. So absolutely. Great ideas here today. Anything else that you would leave practice owners with who are just getting started? Any, quick tips or, bottom key takeaways that you'd like to leave them with today?
Yeah, I do want to call out one more thing because I think it's more pervasive in dental and orthodontic marketing than it is in some other verticals.
Hmm.
Is you'll run across, I'm trying to think of how to best say this. You'll run across people who are advertising ultra low cost
Yeah.
SEO packages. When I say ultra low cost, I'm thinking like 3.99, 4.99, but really these days, anything under probably $1,500, you're not getting much for it
Yeah.
because it's just such a labor and expertise intensive business. I would say if you're being tempted by one of those mass market low dollar SEO packages, save your money because you'll
Yeah.
move the needle a lot more just doing the couple of things we've mentioned here on this podcast, taking care of them internally, doing them with your own team, and not setting on fire those precious dollars as you're starting out your practice.
Yeah, and you and I had actually talked about that in more in depth a few episodes back. I think we called it Hocus Pocus or something like that.
Yeah.
These startup agencies now, and there's a ton of them out there, like you said, that are really preying on practices. Quite honestly, leveraging AI, and every agency worth its salt should be using
Oh
AI
yeah.
to
Yep.
maximize the marketing investment of their clients. But you have other agencies that are almost entirely fully automated, everything with no human oversight, and they're cranking out stuff that's literally doing their clients no favors, and they run on churn. They are
Yep.
just volume shops that, do a lot of business with a lot of different people at very low prices, and in return the value of what you're getting is very low as well. So definitely look out there. Good tip. Yeah, well, thanks for joining the show today, Brian. Thanks for sharing all of this. This is great. And if you are a dentist just getting started, looking for any kind of advice that we can offer, or interested in marketing down the road, just reach out to us, dentalscapes.com/start, for a free strategy call. Can't talk. And we will connect with you and we will do our absolute best to point you in the right direction, regardless of whether or not you work with us up front or not. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard today or you've checked out other episodes, please take a moment and leave us just a 5-star review, or, a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. We would really appreciate it. It's the best way for us to find other dentists and practice administrators out there that we can help. So thanks all for listening. Thanks, Brian, and we'll see you next time.